Well, hello and welcome to another LinkedIn Live conversation where I'm delighted to be joined by Dave Gibson, the co-founder of Blu Sky Chartered Accountants. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Paul, and hello, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. So I've titled this as Financial Fitness in Business, obviously because of the work that you do and the company that you do. But we're going to explore, going to go a little bit down memory lane as well and talk about your career today, because as your co-founder, John, told me you've had an interesting career journey so far. And when I was looking through your LinkedIn profile, you have had some really interesting roles. And one thing that really stood out to me is the way you talk about it as well. I've not seen many people talk about your roles in the way that you do as well. I think your humor comes through in it, but like most people are just talking about very kind of obvious or sort of boring things, but you're giving a bit more insight into some of the more interesting and unusual things that happened in some of those roles. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are and what you do you want to explain what Blu Sky is and what you do?
Sure. So Blu Sky are a chartered accountancy practice. How interesting is that? It is actually very interesting. We specialise in supporting tech and digital businesses. We've clients nationwide now. Around 20% plus of our clients now are based down in London. We're still the majority in the North East. We're based in the North East with an office. I'm actually sitting in a converted pub in North Shields as we speak, although the office is officially closed. I thought this would be a little bit quieter than the noisy scaffolders next door to my house for the purposes of this particular meeting. We've been going for about 13 years or so now as Blu Sky. Co-founded Blu Sky with John Dudgeon. We both come from different backgrounds. We have different experiences, and it's the whole concept is, the team is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's what we're trying to build with the team at Blu Sky as well. We're about 20 strong. We've won local awards. We've been Independent Accountancy Firm of the Year at the North East Accountancy Awards 3 times since inception. We've also been Xero's UK Mid-Size Firm of the Year in 2018, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, no, amazing. Well, I should say I'm a client of Blu Skies as well, and also one of the things that really appealed to me is I do understand all about cloud accountancy software and all the benefits of using cloud apps, but also seeing how involved you guys have been and how supportive have you been of the startup scene, particularly in the Northeast over the years. As long as I've been running my business and earlier, probably. You first came to my attention probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I think, when you were really and with the Newcastle Startup Week events that I've been running, you've sponsored and supported and played a really active part in all of those events. So I could say again, I've said it many times before, but thank you very much for all your support and encouragement over the years.
Very happy to do that, Paul. I'm very happy to continue.
Yeah. And then, so the other thing I like as well is not only do you, as an accountancy firm, not only are you using the cloud products, you're fully cloud, aren't you? You really embrace the cloud, but also the team and the office. You do operate like a tech company. Like you are very, like you're not a typical accountancy firm.
Yeah, we are. We're totally cloud-based. We're a totally paperless operation, so we're supporting well over 300 clients. Some of them of a fairly substantial size now, and there are no pieces of paper. So, like I say, the office is a converted pub in North Shields, and we thought, we had to gut it. There was a lot of money spent on gutting it and rebuilding it, but we didn't want to build it like a boring office. We wanted it to be an attractive place for people to come and work. We introduced the hot desking concept in there. We've retained a substantial part of the bar, which is one of the first things you see when you're walking through the door, and it's just all a bit kind of funkier, I suppose, than the usual office.
No, it is. It's a great looking office, and I think again that just kind of.
Yeah, I've got, as you can see, I'm in the board room, so there's the board.
Yeah, it's a board, but yeah, like the clients that you're working with, that resonates with them, because you're not just an accountant that dabbles a bit or kind of understands a bit. You do live and breathe this stuff. And so anyone that comes to your office, it's the sort of office that they would love to have for themselves as well. So yeah. So you touched on a little bit like the type of clients that you work with any type of client, but you tend to focus on tech and digital and creative companies.
We're kind of getting more and more niche slowly as time goes on. So tech and digital is our specialism. Tech and digital is where we focus our marketing initiatives. If a potential client comes along with a different business model, but they're the right kind of person, so they're bright, they want to grow the business, they understand the value of the help we can give them, then of course we're happy to talk to them. We're a small business at the end of the day as well. And if we can help ourselves by helping them, then let's consider it. We have closed the door on certain things now. We don't do charities. Charities are different accounting concepts, different skills in that. We work with another local firm that does an awful lot of charities. They'll just do them better and cheaper than we will, so we just kind of refer them on. Although we have a few sole traders on the books, we won't take sole traders on anymore now. So pretty well all of our clients now are incorporated businesses, and we're kind of steering away from the construction industry now as well. Generally, any business that uses cash is kind of something we tend to. Not necessarily we won't work with them, but yeah, we need to really kind of explore how that's going to work for them and us, and are we the right accountancy providers, service providers for them.
Yeah. Well, I think we were saying the other day when we were speaking, as the Americans say, there's riches and niches.
Yeah.
Or niches. So like So
the
more narrow the focus there,
it's
better for you, but also it's easier to market and promote what you do if you've got a narrower focus.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you talked about your clients being outside of the region. I know you're very heavily you are North Shields, North Tyneside, very very active in the northeast of England. But how did the London connection come about, and why is that grown to such a big part of the business?
Well, it's a bigger pool to fish in for sure, and we did have, and we do have, national aspirations. We don't just want to be some tiny little business in the northeast, although it's about growing quality relationships rather than the quantity of relationships. We got one or two introductions down there initially in Wyra on Air Street in Piccadilly. And beyond that, we also started picking up clients in the likes of Google Seed Camp and one or two of the WeWorks as well. Initially through a couple of professional contacts, but also because of the work that we'd done with Ignite earlier on. The way some of the Ignite clients had worked was, the setup and started in the northeast, but a lot of those had migrated down to the southeast because that's where a lot of the cash is. As well. So we naturally had a few relationships down there. It was a good reason to get on the train and get down and see them, but then also to do some business development work and, use the old shoe leather, go around knocking on doors kind of thing, to build up relationships, working with other accelerators down there. And it's worked for us. It's been hard work, but it's worked for us. We're seeing the rewards for it now.
Yeah. So before the lockdown, you were down there quite a lot.
Yeah.
Weren't you?
So my role in particular was to spend probably the best part of a week a month going around London. Now it's it's a lovely place to visit when you're a tourist. It's not necessarily so brilliant to go down and work all that time. So I'm not necessarily missing it myself, but it's something as a business we'll probably pick up again and run with as we see fit and as our clients need. Down there as well, once we're all out of travel again. It may or may not be me all the time. We might kind of spell it about amongst the team going forward.
Yeah, well, I suppose the benefits of the cloud is like you can work from anywhere, but you do still need to have that initial connection and rapport. You need to meet people face to face, and then maybe once you've got that, you don't need to meet in person so often.
Exactly that, Paul. So it's great to meet face to face. That's where the relationship can really get bonded. But once you've got that, then you can generally retain it, through online media, and that goes with a lot of the clients. So I talked about a lot of the Ignite clients going from the northeast down to the southeast, but also there are a lot of non-domiciled business owners in tech. So even before lockdown, my usual meeting day, if I had 4 meetings, was maybe a face-to-face in North Shields, another face-to-face in Newcastle, a Skype. Does anybody use Skype anymore? But a Skype with somebody in London, and then a Skype with somebody in Los Angeles or Dubai or Sri Lanka or something like that. So the clients and our relationships are kind of pretty scattered anyway, and it really doesn't matter where people are.
Yeah. No, I love it. So what's we'll talk a bit about your background, like why and how did you get started with Blu Sky?
Okay. So I'll start off by saying that I'm surrounded by good technical qualified accountants, and I'm not the accountant in the room. So accountancy isn't my background. I came up through the tech side myself, if you could call what I did tech. It really was at the time, but I kind of majored in business analysis and project management. So I spent many years basically looking at organizations and departments and working out how to make them more efficient. So it's kind of very forward-looking kind of services. And within there as well, you kind of know yourself. Implementing a system isn't about sticking some hardware and software in and leaving it to it. It lives or dies by the usage of its users. So it's all about the implementation and getting the buy-in beforehand, particularly in blue chip businesses where you've got potentially quite a large number of users, and the implementation has to be really planned through. You've got to get buy-in. But kind of before then, so I started off in tech as a COBOL programmer.
Okay.
I went on, so this was in the early 80s, everybody. Yes, it really was that long ago. I went on a 16-week full-time course for COBOL programming and ended up with a job with a local software house. I was employee number 10 on the list, so that'll give you an indication of the size of it. But they were absolutely mad, flat out busy. They had a lot of contracts through ICL, remember them as well, with local authorities up and down the country, and we were absolutely flat out doing businesses for them. That's really when, well, I was going to say before that I'd spent 4 years at NatWest Bank, so I passed my banking accountancy exam in 1980. So I did have a smattering of understanding what a balance sheet was saying even back then.
Yeah.
But we were developing account systems, all sorts of systems. Moved on, and that's where I learned hard work. Good. That's where I also learned that I was a pretty average programmer, being kind to myself. But to me, it was it wasn't about the tech. It was about what we're trying to achieve here. Was this business, and speaking to the business owners and the contacts in the businesses to understand why things are on. So kind of quickly picked up a kind of systems analyst hat from that point of view, if I talk old school again. Then went off supplying ridiculous. So from a business that had grown to about 20 by the time I left, to Gardner Merchant, which is a facilities management and catering company, 30,000 employees nationwide. But I had so many different roles there. I spent 8 years there, but it was like working for half a dozen different employers at times. And at my interview, they said, "What do you know about PCs?" I said, "Well, I've seen one. It's kind of coming on the market back then." They said, "Okay, you can be the PC expert." Then the organisation had six PCs when I joined. 30,000 employees, six PCs. There you go. Yeah. Stupidly expensive. And I remember the first laptop that we bought. It was a compact laptop, so it had it weighed like a heavy suitcase. It must have weighed about 20 kilos. It had a screen about that big, just orange screen. It cost over $6,000. If you put that in perspective of what you can buy these days, absolutely phenomenal. We didn't really know what to do with it. It was just a bit of a showcase purchase at the time. So I went from PC expert to running a small development team to turning into kind of a business analyst and systems analyst type role. So it's like, yeah, keep me away from the keyboard, but let me kind of plan things and make things happen. Then with them, then this is where the CV starts to get a bit eclectic. I was first introduced to a subsidiary of ours called Kelvin Catering that specialise in offshore catering. So they ran places like the Falkland Island Airport for the rebuild after the Falklands War. They did a lot of oil platforms in the North Sea. And they ran the catering and camp management for Farthing Low, which was the construction site for the Channel Tunnel. So some fairly big projects around there. Then with the offshore thing, if anybody remembers the Piper Alpha disaster, where there's over 180 people lost their lives in that. It was an oil platform that blew up in the North Sea. We literally got the contract there the week before, and we lost 30 members of our team. In that disaster, and I was shipped up to the Kelvin office in Aberdeen to hastily start kind of drawing together all sorts of health and safety documents into something that we could collate in terms of statistics and that kind of thing, because they were terrified that if anything bad happens, it's always the contractor's fault, kind of thing. That was a pretty horrible time. Actually, not a good environment to be in. So there were crews going out, coming at the office to go out to other platforms. One guy saying, I'm not flying out until you've recovered my brother's body, that kind of thing. That introduced me to that, and also to some of the main characters there who were really bright, really driven, and really at the limits of the human limits, really, I suppose, of being able to show empathy while still trying to move the business forward. With them, I then went out to Kazakhstan. We'd taken over an oil and gas production site there, which was jointly owned by the Kazakh government and Chevron. And the Americans had moved in a few months before, but they were going out on 2-month stints and going home 2 stone lighter. They were just running out of food. The food was inedible, that kind of thing. So our role was to kind of get control of that. And my role was to get control of that, because there were no processes, no systems, just 6,000 people on site, and just warehouses full of stuff, and warehouses that were emptied of stuff, and no control. So and that was a challenge. And that, I think, if I could pinpoint one point in my career where it was all about growing up, that was it. Because there were people, individuals there that didn't want control. And some of them were fairly senior people as well. I was kind of stuck 5 hours time difference away from the UK and my own reporting line. And also the only way to get in touch was through a telephone. There was a kind of a satellite phone. There was one phone was in the office where everybody could see and hear what you were saying. So incredibly difficult to manage that. So it took me 2 or 3 goes, but then there was a change of managing director for Kelvin. Went out again on a trip. The guy was already there. Basically, I landed on the Friday tea time, went down one of the warehouses. He was down there with another group of people. He looked at me and said, "You're Dave Gibson, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Your systems are shit." I said, "Oh." So, my office 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. I thought, okay, this is where it is. And we had a bit of a hammer and tongs there, and it was like, yeah, the systems aren't shit. It's people aren't following the processes, deliberately not. So we bargained. If he did what he had to do, then I'd do what I had to do to produce some stats, and it worked.
Right.
And I got some real support there, and we turned it around. It was actually brilliant doing the analysis, coming out and saying, okay, we need to, because if we ran out of something, you couldn't just nip around the corner at Tesco's and buy it. There was, in good weather, there was an 11-day turnaround to order food, which mainly came from the Netherlands. The lorries would get a ferry up to St. Petersburg, drive down to Moscow, pick up an armed guard, and then drive down the rest of the way, probably in convoy as well. There'd been 1 or 2 attacks the year before. And he'd be sitting there going like, yeah, right, we need to order 40 ton of potatoes, 80 ton of onion, 40 ton of this, 40 ton of beef, 40 ton of pork. And in the meantime, yeah, we've got enough whatever to last us 3 years. We need to start processing, showing that on everybody's plate every day,
Wow.
kind of thing. So it was interesting. With Kelvin as well, I worked as part of a 6-man team on the sales tender for Chetlapcock Island, which was a Hong Kong, which was the fake island that they built to build the new Hong Kong airport on. So they had to build the island before they built the airport. And that was forecast to be the biggest construction site in the world on its day, up to 100,000 workers there at peak times, that they were terrified of triads. So my role was to try and find some kind of cashless system to charge people for kind of food and accommodation around that, basically in a construction site. Which fortunately in Hong Kong there was like a domino thing in use that you could kind of charge up in the Hong Kong underground at the time, and we went for that technology. It was it was kind of no moving parts, because we're talking 95 degrees heat, 95 degrees humidity, and PCs back in them days were just full of moving and rotating parts that would get gummed up by dust and dirt and moisture as well. Yeah, that was fun. I kind of left when I was asked, do you fancy going and working in Hong Kong for 6 months? I thought, I'm not getting paid enough for that. I just got married. I knew it was going to be 6.5 days a week living on a construction site. The accommodation block was next to the rock crushing plant. It's like the most exciting job in the world, but I kind of need to look after home. Now, moved on to, but within all of this, it was, what I was learning was how to research, how to understand what the business needs actually were, how to communicate with people, be they, blue chip board level directors or some guy working the shop floor kind of thing. Because everybody's opinion is kind of valid, so you could get an overall view of what was actually needed. And I think, I'm a great believer in if you haven't learned something at work every day, then where's your day gone, kind of thing. Certainly, it was a massive learning curve in those days. Took it then into the RAC in Manchester. Ended up running what they call the fleet management team. They're looking after old operational systems. I know the clock's ticking there, Paul. So that was interfaces with the top 100 clients for RAC, which would be British Telecom, Swan National, Hertz Rent-A-Car, that kind of thing. Just making sure the accident reports went out and the invoices went out and we got paid. Fairly simple. And my role was to basically run our team down whilst my line manager based in Hitchin was developing new systems, which I did. And then and I came up to the North East in 1997 on a 3-month contract with Northern Electric. Never looked back, really love it. Up in the North East. So I don't think my accent really shows that, but there you go.
So where are you from originally again?
I'm from Leeds originally. Yeah. So I wouldn't talk about football for the next half hour if you like that. So yeah, again in Northern Electric went through a number of different roles and looked at a number of different systems. It was pretty good. But I left there just before the whole thing got kind of broken up and sold off. And tooling around a little bit more after that. Spent a bit of time at Eon, but by that time, especially the last year at Northern Electric, the first 3.5 years there have been brilliant. But then, kind of, the whole thing was broken up. The atmosphere just went down through the floor. Wasn't enjoying that. Wasn't enjoying corporate life in general. I was thinking, what on earth can I do that? I don't mind working hard, but I just want to go home and sit on my own settee on a night and eat my own food and watch my own television. Not too much to ask, surely. So I thought, I'll open a accountancy practice. It can't be that difficult, can it? So I kind of knew it. I've been working as a contractor through the RAC and beyond that. So I had about 10 years of running through my own limited company at that stage. Anyway, I knew my debits from my credits because of a lot of systems development is around financial systems anyway. I knew a little bit about tax from having run my own company, but all I knew was, it's complicated. There's a lot to learn, but it changes every year anyway. So I'm only a year behind everyone else. And I certainly wasn't afraid of that as a challenge. And so set off on that, and very quickly, because basically I did the hard work on the marketing side and on the relationship side, and bear in mind this would have been kind of the mid-noughties at this stage. I think it was a different offering to the average accountancy practice, which is, you're walking through the door, you dump your box of paper, you go away, and then somebody rings you 3 months down the line and says your accounts are ready, just sign there and there's your invoice. Goodbye. So I was, my interest was what you're doing, what you're trying to do, where you're going, what's happening with the business. So it's just, I suppose, a different approach to people traditionally trained in accountancy, and it worked. It worked, and the business was growing. But I found, as the business was growing, the clients were growing, I thought I need some proper help here. I had, a couple of people helping in terms of doing the bookkeeping, maybe producing some accounts, but not anything really that structured. And to be honest, nothing that was giving me the help that I needed, never mind the clients. And that, on a personal level, that particularly resonated at the back end of 2006 when my mother was ill and died, and I still had people I'll just do 9 to 5 because that Dave looks after all that. It's like, come on. So I was thinking, what do I do? I need somebody to help, and literally at that very moment in time, John rang up, and he was looking to set up in business himself, and somebody had said to him, go speak to Dave, he's helpful, he might give you a few tips. Came down, we had a good natter, got on really well from day one, and thought, let's explore working together. We spent 9 months poking sharp sticks into each other. So, he appreciated my background and skills. He himself had gone through a number of different roles, but trained and qualified in Big Four environment as well. I brought some very strong technical skills as well, other things in. And it just seemed to be a real fit. It took us really till about 2008 to get going together properly, but we have done and never came back. So it's all driven by my own laziness and wanting to go and set my own settee.
Well, you're definitely not lazy. I mean, I know how the company's grown and how big it's got, and like the ambition of the company. And if you come to the office as well, when you see things on the wall and kind of the future strategy, it's you're definitely not lazy. You're efficient, and you're using technology in the best way. So. I mean, that's an amazing story that you got. Like, when I was listening to it, you were mentioning so many companies. It reminded me of my childhood. It sounds like because I was born in '77, grew up in the '80s. So like all these companies that you mentioned, I was like, I remember they were such prominent brands and companies in the '80s. And
a bit like Woolworths.
Right, but it's not that long ago. But when you're talking about it, it seems like centuries ago. When you think like the way people run their business now, thinking back to how people ran their businesses there. When you're saying you're doing all these massive operations over the phone, like and like logistically, and having convoys and all these like moving parts that could go wrong, horribly wrong, and then if you could have the best system in place, but again, it's the human element. If people just don't want to do it and they don't want to follow the process,
it doesn't work. Yeah, and that's the thing that hasn't changed. There's no point having a process if people don't follow it. There's no point having rules or guidelines if people don't follow them. And if you don't have a plan and you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. Yeah.
And the technology. I mean, my co-founder for Tribes, Andrew Essen, he spent a long time being like he's worked as an IT director or having roles within companies where it's been his job to implement the software, the technology into the company. So he understands the value of this, but also the importance of getting the buy-in from everybody in the company, because that's where it does regularly fall down. People maybe at senior level will think, oh, this is a good thing, let's bring it in, buy in the software, spend loads of money. And people are really resistant to the change.
And that's always been a feature, is that certainly people at ground level, it's all, what does it mean to me? Is my job at risk? So there's a natural barrier there to start with, which and you have to sell it to them that actually this is going to make your job easier. This is going to make it more interesting. These are the benefits it'll bring to you. And without that buy-in on shop floor level, things don't work.
Yeah. it's funny talking about the shop floor level. I know exactly, but like because you won't spend much time on the shop floor these days. But like it's still, I guess it's probably easier when you work with smaller companies from the outset who understand technology and cloud to get the buy from with a small team. Is that, yeah? Would you say that?
Yeah, it's different challenges. It's not necessarily easier. It's different. It's just different. So I think as a business, we geared up to servicing clients of a certain size. Once you get into 100 million turnover, then you've got again different challenges, different needs, different wants, and you'll have yourself different structures and different departments and different skills in house, and the things that you need are probably not things we can service properly. So we're happy to kind of take people to a certain level and then kind of hand them off as and when kind of necessary.
Yeah. And those experiences that you had just make you better informed to talk to all your different clients and understand all the different challenges that they've got, not just as an accountant, but as a systems analyst. You've got a more holistic view of everything that they're going through. And then meeting John, that's obviously a very complementary skill set and support each other, because it is difficult when you're doing everything all on your own. And if you're having a tough time, or you're feeling stressed, or you're overworked, sometimes having someone else who can take on some of that slack or G you up a little bit. If you're feeling a bit demotivated, they can boost you up. I remember it was last year that you gave me, or you told me about a book called Rocket Fuel.
Yeah.
That is such a good book about the two different types of people that you need to really accelerate the growth of the company. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we'd got to the point where, so me and John are co-founders. Effectively, we're jointly running the business, but of course you can't do that in a business. And if you look at tech businesses, like even from day one, you've got your CEO, your COO, your CTO. Like it's about carving out roles and responsibilities. And we realised that at times kind of the team was sometimes playing as like a parent. Dave, can I do this? No. Well, I'll go and ask John then. It's like, okay, this doesn't work. But also at that point, it's like, well, who is going to be boss and who's going to take potentially second place, and what does it do to two people with no egos? But there's always a bit of that end as well. And then this came around. So there's the visionary and the integrator roles rather than traditional roles, and you can actually mark your own experiences and skill set against each of those roles as well. And we both went through it, and both of us were capable of doing both roles. But I was a stronger visionary, and John was a stronger integrator, and said, right, well, we'll have that then. So what it meant was, in terms of the role of visionary, which is something I've always been good at. I'm a very ordinary coder and a very ordinary bookkeeper, but looking to anticipate what's going to be happening in a year or two's time, I've generally been really good at that. And it's like, where do we want to be? How do we want to get there? Who will we want to be working with, and what will their needs be in that time? And how do we start building towards that now? So accountable for kind of collecting some crazy ideas and throwing them in to a strategy. And then John, who is far more organized than me, would then, as the integrator, be responsible for implementing the strategy and making it work in practice. So that was working for us up until March this year, and then the needs and challenges thrown at us by our clients did change substantially. All of a sudden, everybody, or almost everybody, wanted more. They wanted quicker. They wanted better. They wanted different. In a landscape where even government guidance was changing twice a day, kind of thing. It was a really crazy time. So we reorganised around that. We've gone back a little bit more traditional for the time being. We felt it was right and proper for us, but I think in 12 months' time, we're probably back to visionary and integrator again.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, it's been such a crazy time, but it's like all hands to the pump, isn't it? And as said before, like accountants are always described as like the most trusted advisor of a business owner, and that is rightly so, and that hasn't changed. But definitely during the COVID crisis, there's been so much pressure and reliance and on accountants. So that's obviously a lot of pressure on you and your team. But do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And of course, it's not just us at Blu Sky. It's pretty well everybody in our business and our market. I saw one quote very early on Twitter from somebody saying, "I get accountants now. It's like your financial doctors and all your patients are sick at exactly the same time." It's a bit like that. So we've had to scurry around and spend a lot of time researching and understanding how the rules were changing. We've had to scurry around to help people substantially in terms of forecasting. It's amazing how many more business owners suddenly became more interested in that kind of thing. And that's a key thing for me going forward, is that there's some education of people and business owners, and not just as to the importance of these kind of things, but the understanding of them, understanding how to do these things. So you're not relying on third parties too much, but you can actually do at least the basics yourself. So education going forward. Also, as a team, we decided with the job retention scheme when it came in, which was always going to be a short-term thing, that knowing the client's needs, we would provide that as an extra service at no extra charge for clients at that particular time. Of course, we had lots of clients piling into that. We were dragging substantial amounts of money back for clients on behalf of them. It's cost us literally hundreds of man hours within there. So that has been an extra drain on resource, if I can put it that way, when we've needed that resource to also kind of service more forward-looking needs of clients, and it's been tough. I think that the team, at a time as well when the team is, we've distributed the team and said go and work from home, and we always had a remote and flexible working policy anyway. That bit, shutting the doors and saying to people go home wasn't difficult. We didn't have to go out and buy any new kit or anything like that. But managing the team, particularly the younger elements of the team, over a sustained period like this, in itself, I'm sure anybody that's been in the same position will agree, brings its own different challenges as well. So we've had to adapt management styles and communication styles and motivational styles, and there's a lot of talk about, and rightly so, about kind of mental and emotional stability and health through this, and you can understand why. And we've been acutely aware of that. To whilst we'll be getting under pressure ourselves from clients to deliver, to not to try and pile overburden people to the point of breaking them. People working hard. There's been some tired faces around from time to time, but we're deliberately trying to kind of protect them as well, because we know we're in it for the long haul, kind of thing. And that has worked for us. It's been tough. We haven't ticked every single box, but I'm a great believer that if you achieve your objectives 100% all the time, your objectives are not challenging enough. And we want to continue to get better, but we are with. So like I say, we kind of reorganized, not just me and John. We reorganized and restructured the whole team, focused responsibilities on individuals within the team, so people could get better and more efficient around kind of specific areas, rather than kind of the broad brush approach that we'd previously taken. We decided to change our CRM system as well. Let's get all the pain out of the way at the same time. So that went in a couple of months ago now, and is getting bedded in. But we've recruited as well. We've booked the trend that there have been a fair number of redundancies again in our market. We've gone the other way. We've taken on, as part of our restructure, we've gone from 2 relationship directors to 4. We've taken on a payroll specialist now, whereas before payroll was kind of a task run by people doing other things as well. We've just under the Kickstart scheme taken on a young lad who's really, really bright actually, to pick up a lot of the administration tasks that we're doing. Administration a bit different for us to other businesses, but I won't go into that now. And we're Advert Claxon, we're recruiting now, so we're on the hunt for. And we're in mid interviews with, first of all, another accountant, somebody newly qualified, ACCA or ACA. If you want to come in and be part of a growing, successful team with the world's best manager, give us a shout. That's Dave at blusky.co.uk. And also somebody to work on the reconciliation of Xero and Receipt Bank and producing management information and management accounts for clients. So we need an extra body in that team as well, principally to help us grow, but also to cover the training contracts that we'd offer 3 members of that team. So we're official Institute of Chartered Accountants training business. We've agreed with 3 of the junior members of the team they can go through the chartered accountancy exams, which entails a substantial amount of time off work for study leave. As well, so we're investing in the team, and that shows our confidence in the team and the processes and the market going forward.
Great. Okay. Well, I definitely think at some point there needs to be a massive party for accountants everywhere. So like a big holiday, they need to be treated to some amazing party or holiday somewhere for this year in particular. Everyone that they've been, all the support that they've been providing, and all the stress. Everybody's been under stress, but like the extra burden that the accountants have been under, and everybody's just everyone's learning all the time. It's totally new. Everything's new. It's not just one thing that you have. It's like you say, it's a new way of managing your team remotely. You were already geared up nicely for that, but still to do it over a sustained period of time. It's not just dipping in and out of the office, because it is a buzzy office when you come in. There's great rapport and good vibe, like really good vibe around it. But all day being remote, and people do miss out on that human energy. So managing those teams, but then also keeping people motivated, keeping people inspired. It's not the same. Like this is great, but it's not the same as doing it.
It's not the same, and it's been difficult. And we know 1 or 2 people's performances have kind of wandered about over that, and that's not surprising, to be honest. So we're doing our best, but is your best ever good enough in these circumstances?
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking out loud here. I think like anyone, people need things to look forward to. Yeah. So even if the timescales shift, the dates shift, it's good. It might be, I'm just saying, it might be good to say this thing is going to happen, and we're going to pick a day, and okay, if that day doesn't happen, it will happen. So it's a bit like, when I think about it now, like one of the best things, best advice I would give to someone starting a business is to book your holidays.
Yes.
Like to get holidays booked in, even if it's just on these days, I'm going to have a holiday, and because otherwise, you're just working all the time, and you're putting things to one side, and you do get tired and you do get burnt out. But if you've got something to look forward to, that's why humans need holidays, celebrations like Christmas. You need these dates in the diary that you've got something to look forward to and something to work towards.
Absolutely, you can't sprint all the time. You just can't, and you need time out. Everybody needs time out. Everybody needs a holiday to, like you say, to recharge the batteries and come back kind of fresh and focused again. Otherwise, if you keep working too hard for too long, your performance degrades. It's as simple as that, and often you don't even realise it yourself. Just be fair to yourself and give yourself some time out. So in Kazakhstan, there was nothing else to do. So you go out on a 28-day shift and you work for 28 days from 7 in the morning through till 8, 9, 10 at night. So I was doing 110 hour weeks, which I loved back then, but I was young enough to have the energy then. But even at that age, I'd come home and I'd spend a week trying to remember what my own name was. Just absolutely shattered at the end of that. And you can't, so the working time directives are there for a reason. The science behind the 48 hours thing, and I think everybody needs to look at themselves and make sure that, on average, you're working kind of less than that. And different people work in different ways. Sometimes it's about controlling your working day. Sometimes it's about, absolutely caning it for a few days, but then taking 2 or 3 days off. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. Well, just talk at the beginning, I said I titled it a financial fitness in business because obviously you're accountancy practice and stuff. But recently you've launched a new thing called the Startup Club. So do you want to explain a bit more about what that is and how people can benefit from it?
Yeah, so we realise that there will be a lot of startups this year and next year as well. We realise at the end of the day we're not the cheapest practice in the world, but we're not the most expensive either. But we wanted to put in something that was a real cost-effective start point for businesses that might just be starting, may have little or no cash in the bank, are really looking for good value. So we've come up with a Startup Club. There's a certain element of self-service within there, but we'll go through some training with you so you can do that. We'll provide kind of check-ins, and then in particular we're running a series of fortnightly short and sharp webinars on a number of different topics, and those topics we kind of got penciled in, but we're looking for feedback from members of the Startup Club, and we'll run on whatever topics people want to hear about. So principally, having started the Startup Club, those webinars have been run by us in-house, but we're more than happy to bring in third-party experts to talk about anything from marketing to health and safety to employment law, and these things are kind of penciled in for the future as well. So it's in its early stages. It is an attractive price point. It kind of gives you a flavour of kind of what you kind of need, and it's suitable for startups. It's as simple as that. I think once you get past your first year's completion and first year set of accounts and corporation tax return, then from our point of view, you would need to go onto a more commercial fee. If you've got enough out of us to know us, like us, and trust us, then you'll see the value in that. If not, then you'll go and find somebody cheaper. So it's up to us to make sure you're seeing the value in what you're getting in the first year. Yeah.
So is it the idea is people would join it for 12 months and then they would upgrade to the full package? Is that what you're looking to get?
Absolutely. Then the full package itself is quite flexible. So having, for example, doing your own reconciliation and bookkeeping, if you've done that for the first year yourself anyway, then and you're doing it well and you want to continue with that, then fine, keep doing it and we won't charge you for it. But if you yourself are growing, then is your time best spent thinking about on that, or is your time best spent going out and generating business and pushing your business forward, kind of thing. So you've got commercial decisions to make around that, but you've got choice.
No, great. And then the webinars, they are open to anyone at the minute, aren't they? So like even if people haven't paid to join the Startup Club, they can watch the webinars to understand it and see the expertise and the value that you're offering. So what is the best way to find out? Because we were talking about this the other day. We've been promoting it through the Startup Week community Facebook group that we've got. We've been sharing it. I know you've been sharing it on social media, but do you just want people to email you directly, or is it?
I'm happy with that, but like I say, it's on social media, so we're on Twitter. It should be going out on Facebook. It should be going out on various LinkedIn platforms, and it should be sitting on our website somewhere. Forgive me for not knowing exactly where. That's really bad of me. So there's a number of options, but if you're interested in any of this, obviously just give me a shout.
That's what I said, because I did share it in the Facebook group the other last week, and I said make sure. Well, I said it'll probably be shared on the website soon, but for the time being, you can contact Dave or John directly, or anyone in the team, or best thing to do, follow on Twitter and social media and sign up for the newsletter. Because on your website, if people scroll down to the bottom, they can sign up for your newsletter, and that is a really good resource. You're regularly sharing tips and advice and all the latest information and advice on government legislation and keeping people on track. So I would encourage anyone watching this to sign up for your newsletter.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, we'll try and make the newsletter interesting and relevant. And sometimes I think some of our competition finds that rather difficult. So it might be relevant but not necessarily interesting. So we try and keep it light, and we try and have half a dozen articles in there, and some of it might be about legislation, but it's of relevance to our client base, but also what's going on commercially, what's going on in the community, and what's going on within Blu Sky as well. So yeah, something for everybody, hopefully, within the newsletter.
Yeah, awesome. I was going to say, so from a financial fitness point of view, I know it's like a very broad thing, but like if anyone, bearing in mind the period that we've just been through, like the whole lockdown period, and if anyone's watching this now and they're thinking like, what do I need to do to prepare for the year ahead? Have you got any sort of immediate sort of tips or advice that you'd tell people to do now?
Yeah, hopefully I'm telling people what they know already by now, because we've run enough webinars on this. I'm sure there's plenty of other articles from other people out there. It feels like we can be a little bit more sure of 2021 than 2020, certainly from a health point of view. We also know, I'm sure, that whatever Brexit brings, it probably won't be good things. So I'll start granular first. Understand your cash, people. How much cash you've got in the bank today? Any business owner should know that. How long will that cash last you? So what do you expect to come in and what do you expect to go out? So there's your cash flow forecast at a very basic crude level. Have that, even if it's only for the next 6, 12 weeks or so. Just understand that it does surprise me. It doesn't happen very often, but it does surprise me when somebody runs out of cash and they just weren't expecting it. It's like you've got to anticipate these things. You really have to. You don't have to be a financial genius. You don't have to understand the accounts down to the nth degree to be able to understand what cash is coming in and going out.
Yeah.
So understand your cash, control your cash. So if you are if you're on a subscription model, then fine. People are going to pay you or they're not. But then have your process for kind of chasing up those who stop your subscriptions, obviously, and try and make yourself as sticky as possible. There, if you're invoicing, have control of that. Don't let people run away with your cash once you've invoiced it. It's your money. Don't be too British and be shy about asking for it. Have a process, have a credit control process. So if you're giving people, say, 14 days to pay, 2 days before that deadline, send them a polite email saying, really looking forward to receiving your cash in the next 48 hours. Thank you very much. And it's just these memory joggers, and then chase and chase and chase afterwards. It's like, different processes maybe suit different industries, but have a process. And then when people are late paying you, because it will happen, it helps take the emotion out of it, because you just follow the process. And try not to be too matey with people about it, and try not this and try not that, because if there are people out there who will take advantage of you if you let them. It's like just be firm and be strong about that, and take the process to its nth degree as well. I would consider in the worst case scenarios having a look at money claims online, which is basically the small claims court online. It's relatively easy, it's relatively cheap, it does often get results for you as well. The longer a debt remains unpaid, the more chance there is it just turns into a bad debt. I do remember again the story of an ex-client. His business went bust, who went 2 years without getting paid by one of his biggest customers. I'm going, just honestly go hammer the door down. But he's one of your best customers. I'm like, how can they be one of your best customers if he's not giving you any money? He's actually your worst customer. It didn't work. So cash flow in the short term, certainly, but then have a think about what 2021 will actually bring to your business and your market and your own customers. So who are you wanting to give you cash, and how is 2021 going to affect them, their income and their ability to spend as well? And again, that's different for different markets. It's like you might not have all the answers, but once you start asking the questions, then you'll kind of start to think about it and actually research it properly. So it feels like from a health point of view, a COVID point of view, by the time we get into Q2, that'll be easing off nicely. We can all get out and about and go and have a pint again, which I'm very much looking forward to. But we know economically, Q2 is going to be the start of the worst. That's when they're expecting redundancies to have peaked. So I think there'll be the health thing, followed by the redundancy wave, followed by the economic wave. So we're possibly even looking at the back end of 2021 for that to kind of tipple over into people spending, etc. So it'll be a long time.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So great advice there. I mean, I know some of it. It kind of never goes out of date. You know, it's like the stuff that's always there, but just in some ways, the technology makes it easier because like definitely I know like the accountancy software, like Xero, and I know there's when you can invoice early. You know, that's the key thing, to like invoice early as soon as you've done the work, get the invoice out there, and then make those clear payment terms of when you expect that money to arrive. And then with Xero and others, you can send reminders. You can have automatic reminders. And that does work because, you know, there's definitely clients of mine who the email say, "Oh, I keep getting your reminder," and it will get paid. So like it kind of gets a bit annoying for them because they keep getting a reminder. So then they pay
process,
until it gets paid. But so definitely make the most of the technology to make your life easier.
Absolutely. So the cloud technology allows you, you know, if you've been in business for a while and if you've been on desktop technology, it's not just about porting data from a desktop into the cloud. It gives you the opportunity to absolutely revolutionize your processes, streamline your processes, make them more efficient and make them more proactive. It's a relatively new way of working that I think a lot of cloud adopters still haven't got their heads around yet. So there's still a lot of emulation of the way things worked in the past. So one of the things we're trying to do around that is daily reconciliation through Receipt Bank and Xero for every client. We've not been 100% successful in that yet. Very often what slows us down is the fact that the client's not pushing the paperwork through. But we're doing this for your benefit. So without that, your figures are not up to date. Do you want if you log onto your online bank, do you want to see what's in the bank now, or do you want to see what was in the bank at the end of the last month or the end of the month before?
Yeah.
You know, it's just
it is easy to. I mean, I know I use I work with you, so I've got Xero. I do have Receipt Bank. I do try to keep it's all connected to my bank. The reconciliation. I try to each week. Wednesday is for me funding and finance day. So I do set each day has a different theme, and I always try to have a focus on Wednesday on funding and finance. And I know at the minute I need to upload some invoices, or I need to put some paperwork in there because it's not clear what, like, everything's in there, but it's just not reconciled. So that's a reminder to me today. I'm going to do that as well. But and the thing about not being British as well, definitely, like, just if you owed some money, get on that. Don't just assume that people are going to pay you, because most people, they don't do it deliberately. Like if they knew that you hadn't been paid, they would be mortified. They wouldn't want to know that. But it's often, if you're doing the work with someone, they're not the one who's actually making the payment. That's been passed on to someone else. And again, it's that human element. Sometimes their systems aren't that great. And it's happened to me a couple of times, actually, where I've been saying to someone, like, is everything all right? Is it going to get paid? And, oh yeah, just trust the process. Everything's all right. And then it doesn't get paid. And it's only when I bring up their financial controller that is like, you've done everything right, but that manager you've been dealing with, they haven't done this one thing. And until they did that one thing, you were never, ever going to get paid. So don't just assume that it is get to work at their end. So
And and also, like we say, businesses out there will be suffering from financial stress themselves. So, it may be that they can't pay everybody that have to.
yeah,
So maybe they're picking and choosing, and be sure you're shouting loudly, and that might help you get at the front of the queue.
yeah. And just last, I mean, one other thing as well, you probably know that you've probably seen this as well. Generally speaking, I think small micro business owners pay their invoices early.
Agree.
Right. Whereas bigger companies will wait until the final day, or sometimes they'll go beyond that. Right. So what do you think on that? Like, would you always say to someone, if the payment terms for the money that you owe is 30 days, pay on the 30th day?
I'd say pay before, just in case something happens on the 30th day and you can't get to it. It's as simple as that. So, and particularly, small businesses should support small businesses. So if you can pay a little earlier, then pay a little earlier. If you're waiting for cash to come in yourself, then you can't. But if you can pay a little earlier, then pay a little earlier. I think that there's been some sharp practices by some bigger organisations that we won't talk about, but some of them are insisting on 90 or 120 day payment terms, and that is absolutely no good for an SME at all. And I would encourage any SME, certainly dictating their own terms and conditions, to look for 7 or 14 day payment terms on their invoices. Certainly no more than that, and there should be little or no reason why many customers can't turn stuff around in that point of time. As well, it just all helps drag cash into the bank and just paints a different financial picture for the business. So certainly, SMEs should support each other. There's a great little graphic going around which says, if you pay me out and pay him, and then he can pay you, kind of thing. And absolutely, that's true.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've always been, if I've got the money, I'm like, I'll pay it, because I understand that, and I'm supporting small and micro business owners. I want that money to flow through the economy, the local economy. But it is important to know what their payment terms are, because in some occasions it doesn't matter what your payment terms are. But be aware of that for your cash flow as well. But so some of the bigger companies I've worked with have missed that, they haven't paid on time, and I've had to chase, and that's a hassle and wasted my time to do that. But others have paid really, really quickly. Like I've said 14 days, and they're paid in 7 days.
Yeah,
so it can be done.
Sometimes with a bigger company, they'll do a payment run once a month. Well, if your invoice is in the system 24 hours before that, you'll get paid quickly. If it comes in 2 days later, you're going to wait an extra month for your cash. So sometimes it's about understanding how they process as well. And like you say, with a bigger business, they'll dictate it. Doesn't matter what your T's and C's are, they'll pay when they pay. So it's kind of understanding that.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, is there anything else that you want to say to anyone before we go?
Well, just keep your chins up, everybody. So it's been a tough year, but we'll seem to be here, or in the main we seem to be here. I think a lot of people are putting in a lot of hard work. I think there's been a lot of community spirit gone around, and a lot of help and support of each other in the business community, and I think that's been a real benefit and a real spin-off from 2020. 2021 it's probably going to be tough for many of us. I think again, they're looking at our stats in the last 12 months. 50% of our clients have actually increased revenue. Another 25 haven't lost it. So it's not all doom and gloom. There are there are plenty of businesses still moving forward steadily, and there's certainly a few that have actually gone stratospheric through being in the right place at the right time. Here. So it's about resilience. Well, if you're running a business, you need some of that anyway. I'm afraid, but combine that with a bit of realism and a bit of research and thought about what your market is going to be over the next 12 months or so, and you should be able to get yourself together a plan that takes you forward, not just treading water, but take it forward, and that's got to be the key.
Brilliant. Okay, and definitely kind of people are still surviving now, and use this time to think ahead of how you can improve your systems and processes, and use technology because it's there, and it's think how that can improve things and make you more efficient and increase your chances of getting paid on time faster and generate more sales and revenue for the company. Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. All right, always love talking to you. And so yeah, encourage people to check out your website and follow you on social media. And if anyone's got any questions, they can leave some comments underneath here. And yeah, we'll get this shared everywhere. This, like I say, this is on LinkedIn now, so people can watch it on replay. It's on Twitter through Periscope as well. It'll be on the private Startup Week Facebook group, and also it'll be on YouTube as well soon. So we can share it more widely then. All right. Okay. If I don't,
pleasure as always, Paul. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, Dave.
Bye-bye.